There is a place in New Mexico where the desert stretches so wide and so empty that a person could disappear and the world would never know. No trees, no neighbors, no sounds except the wind moving through the dry brush. And this is where David Parker Ray chose to build his chamber. Not a dungeon, not a basement, but a trailer sitting in plain sight in the New Mexico desert that he called his toy box. And David Parker Ray was 59 years old. He looked like any ordinary man you might pass on the street. He worked as a mechanic for the New Mexico State Parks Department. He had neighbors. He had a girlfriend. He smiled at people. But for years, nobody knew what he was doing in that trailer at the edge of his property. Because he had been building it for years, spending money, planning everything, every single detail. And by the time he was finished, he had spent over $100,000 building it. And the first thing a victim would notice when they woke up inside was the darkness. Then, from somewhere in the dark, a click, and then a voice. A calm voice. A patient voice. A voice that had clearly said these words many times before. And for 30 minutes the tape played, telling each victim exactly where they were, exactly what was happening, and exactly what was going to happen next. And FBI investigators who later listened to that tape said it was the most disturbing thing they had ever encountered in their entire careers. But on the night of March 22, 1999, a woman named Cynthia Vigil managed to do something nobody had done before. She escaped. She ran barefoot across the desert. She flagged down a passing car and told them everything. And within hours, law enforcement surrounded the property. And when investigators first opened the door to the toy box, several of them had to walk away. Because the trailer was fully soundproofed, so not a single sound from inside could reach the outside world. There was a medical examination table bolted to the floor. Mirrors were mounted on the ceiling above it. Surgical tools were laid out in careful rows, each one cleaned, each one in its exact place. He had a pulley system installed on the ceiling with chains and hooks, everything purpose-built. And he had a library of homemade videotapes, hundreds of them, labeled and organized on shelves, because he had been doing this for years, possibly decades. And when investigators began piecing together what had happened in that trailer, the numbers were staggering. They believed David Parker Ray may have taken up to 60 victims. 60 people. Gone. But here is the thing that kept investigators awake at night. Not one body was ever found. Not one. Because the desert out there is enormous, vast beyond imagination, and it keeps its secrets. And David Parker Ray did not act alone. His girlfriend Cindy Hendy was present. She participated. She helped him. And when investigators arrested her, she initially smiled at them. She eventually cooperated and was sentenced to 36 years. And when David Parker Ray was finally put on trial, the evidence was overwhelming. But despite everything investigators found in that trailer, he was never convicted of murder. Because without bodies, there was no proof of murder. And without proof, the law could only go so far. So he was sentenced to 224 years in prison for other charges. And on May 28, 2002, David Parker Ray died of a heart attack in prison. He died without ever revealing where his victims were. The desert kept his secrets, and it keeps them still. Because somewhere out there, beneath that desert, are people who had families, people who were loved, people who never came home. Their names were never read in a courtroom. Their families never got answers. And the toy box, that trailer in the New Mexico desert, was eventually destroyed. But the desert is still out there, wide, empty, silent. And somewhere beneath it, the truth is still waiting to be found.